Welcome to our Grade 12 Accounting Channel YouTube handle, Excel Q5D, your home for Grade 12 accounting success.
So let's quickly do them, and then we see how we can manage. Okay, so let's go to the information. And the information, what we given, so I like to stick with what we know. Okay, so I'm going to say here I'm doing a quick note no 7. Okay, all right, I like to stick with what we know. So here I'm going to have my table like that. And then let me say at the beginning, ordinary share capital, it was 30 million. I'm in 2023. I have 30 million here. So I'm going to come and say 30 million at the beginning. At the end, we're not given, but at the beginning, we're told that the shares were 4 million. So at the beginning here, it was 4 million like that. And then at the end, it is 4,650,000. At the end, it's formula 600 fed, 50,000 like that. All right. And then we are then told on more information that comes, shares, information F. In January, the company sold another 800,000 shares. So we're going to issue 800,000 shares here. 800,000 shares were issued for a total of 6,720,000, for a total of 6,720,000. And then it says in May, the company bought back 150,000. So in May, then you'd have your bracket here, and the repurchase is 150,000. Okay, now we don't know because here we need the average price. So that is what they wanted us to calculate. What value are we going to use here? Average price. That is very simple. Together, you have to remember that here we can use the amounts at the top, where I'll take my share capital amount, which is 30 million plus 6,720,000, which gives me 36,720,000. And then I divide all of this by my number of shares, which is 4,800,000, which becomes 4.8 million. Like that. Okay, so I then come here. Where is my editing machine? There you are. So come back to your place. So I'll then say here, it is going to be my 36,720,000. 36,720,000. There's 1 0 is missing there. Then I divide that by my 4.8 million. 4.8 million. And then that would give me 7 Rand 65. So it becomes 7 Rand 65. That is all they wanted. That is all they wanted. 7 Rand 65, and then you'd have gotten this one. But what they wanted was for us to calculate that 7 Rand 65. Okay, very important. The examiner was trying to say open note 7, but in a different way. So the examiner can still make you open and order share capital note, but in a different way. Okay, let's come and see now what is happening. Retained income. To retain income, so the examiner give us the balance at the beginning, and then the net profit after tax. We know the next thing that's going to come is the repurchase of shares. The repurchase of shares. Let me open my bracket. On the repurchase of shares, I'll open my bracket, and I know the number of shares that the company bought back is 150,000. So I'm at 150,000 here. And then I multiply. Do I multiply by the 8 and 70? Certainly not. In your mind already, you have the triangle. You remember the famous triangle. At the top, we have the cash flow amount, which is your 8 Rand 70. Here, it's the ordinary share capital amount, which is your average price, 7 Rand 65. And here we have the retained income amount, the amount above. Okay, some would say more. Okay, so we need the adding machine, would say a trend 70, and then we subtract 7 Rand 65, like that. And then we would end up with 1 Rand 5 cents. So come here, it's 1 Rand and 5 cents. And then I'll say 1 Rand and 5 cents multiplied by 150,000 like that. And then in brackets, I'm going to end up with 1 million. Sorry, it is 157,000. 157,500. 157,500. Cool. Let's come to the next part now. The next part has to do now with my interim dividends, and here I have my final dividends. All right, let's see which one is easy to get. If I come here, shareholders for dividends. Once I see shareholders for dividends, that becomes my final dividends in that particular year. So I'm coming here, that one is 2 million, 3 Amit, and 25 Bev. Not a problem. For the interim dividend, we are not given any information to get that. That simply means I need to get that figure, then I can get that figure. Let's have your calculators ready. So it means on my calculator, I'll now say, I'll start with the 1,650,000 at the beginning. 1,650,000, like that. Then I'm going to add my net profit after tax, which is 5 million. Then I net 15,000. Are we still okay? Then I'll say minus 157,500, like that. And then I'll get that. Then I'll say minus the 3 million, which is at the bottom now. The 3,402,000. 3,402,500. 3,402,500. And then I'll end up with 4,005,000. So that becomes my dividends over here. Let me just erase that. And then I'm going to come with, okay. All right. Okay, let's quickly do that. Let's get a pen proper now. Okay, cool. So I'm going to end up with 4,005,000 like that. So once I get my 4,005,000, I can now get my interim dividends. To get my interim dividends, I'm now saying my dividends for the year, which is 4,005,000 minus 2 million, throw it into 25,000. So I simply come and say subtract 2,325,000 like that. And then that will leave me with 1,680,000, my note in 680,000. That is how I'd have completed my note 8. So in this case, I've done note 7 and note 8. Note 7, they didn't want us to complete it, all of it, but they wanted us to calculate the average price. In the retained income, the interim dividends were missing, so we had to do the bottom-up calculation. All right, so I also got another question, and someone was saying, Mr. Simbi, how do I calculate the dividend payout rate? Because there's several ways in which one would have done that. So I'm just going to do again another short video in which I explain the dividend pay. Now trade until next time. Enjoy your studies and all the best.
So, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and start your journey to accounting excellence today with Excel Q5D. Grade 12, Accounting Simplified. Learn smart. Revise fast. Excel always.